Gee, that happened fast. Oh, you can't see me there. That's better. When I'm wearing all dark, it just looks like I'm just a floating head. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. So I'm just setting up all my equipment here. There we go. What have I got there? There we go. Okay. So just waiting for everyone to turn up. Hello. I don't remember that name. Are you new here? Nin? You new. Anyway, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. I'm on YouTube and Facebook right now. I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where I save all of my lives. And then I bounce from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. So the best place to watch me is Facebook because that's my smallest platform. And so usually I can see most of those questions. It's funny, I said that, I think, last night, and then I forgot to look at them. I forgot to look down at YouTube. It's the best place to go. I answer all your questions. And then I forgot to look. Anyway, I did eventually. It was funny. Well, it made me laugh. Okay, so just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Beautiful sunny day today, but feeling very much like fall. It's getting cooler. I was dressed like in a parka and a beanie this morning. I go to the gym around between 5 and 6 a.m. and it was cold. And then I was out on my bike later with just a tank top. So go figure. How many people are here? Oh, it's only 22 so far. Facebook's usually a slow start. Plus, this isn't one of my regularly scheduled lives. Anyway. Where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. There's 2 Vancouvers. There's one in Washington State in the United States too. So where are you from? Okay, I'll just get going here. So it's just reading your names. Anyway, okay, so my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. If you look in the link above, you'll see my free behavior board. Hi, Georgia. Lynn Strickland. You see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. I've got a wait list, but it's pretty short right now. So I got through everyone recently. So yeah, I think a while ago, it was like a month long. So actually it was more than that, but anyway, it's good now. Guatemala. Hi, Guatemala. And thank you for being here. Thanks. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. You have a 3-year-old. What's going on with your 3-year-old? What is going on? Do you have any questions? I just finished a last session with a client. I always kind of feel like it's like a breaking up. It's always kind of sad because you sort of are setting them free. Okay, I hope you do well. Okay, I have 2 granddaughters. One is 3. The other one just turned 1. And my 3-year-old granddaughter is so mean to the 1-year-old, pushes, kicks her. Yeah, I can't answer that. I don't teach grandparenting because I only teach parenting. If I told you what to do, they're not your kids. So you see what I mean? Yeah. Like I don't give, yeah, I'm very careful with that. I only give parenting advice. My 3-year-old's having problems sleeping in her big girl bed. All she's doing is constantly running, screaming, and yeah, okay. Check out my Bedtime Battles course. It's one of my mini courses. It's also included in the toddler course, boot camp, and the older boot camp. But it's a whole process, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. It's usually one really rough night. And then it peters out, or it might even go away. You listen to me about the fits, but I want to cry at the same time. So I listened to you about the fits. I don't quite know what you mean there. California here. Love your info and your approach. I wonder if your advice changes for kids with trauma, foster kids. I'm struggling with a 3.5-year-old, age appropriate stuff and other stuff. Yeah, trauma. Yeah, I specialize in crisis work. So that would be coaching though. Whenever information I'm talking about here or in my courses, that's all general information. But if there's anything, any trauma, any abuse, something horrible, crisis work. I specialize in teen crisis work, actually, but I've dealt with all sorts of stuff, as you can imagine. I'm not going to mention any of that here. So that would be coaching exclusively. Vancouver, BC I'm raising my grandson. Oh, you're in Vancouver too. I don't think in the last couple of years I've had a coaching client in Vancouver. It's mostly all over the world, but not Vancouver. But I do get, I don't have a big presence here because it's awkward. I used to do a lot of TV and that years and years ago. And I felt like wherever I went, I felt like I had to sort of, be careful, not cut anyone off in traffic or anything like that. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, I still get recognized pretty much every day here, but I don't have a big physical presence. It's more online. You have a preteen with a birthday niece and her little sister is my daughter. Complicated. I want to take her for a spa day. Should I include the 4-year-old for the day? No, you don't have to include the non-birthday kid in that day. It depends. Would the other girl be happy about that or not? It's her birthday. I would ask her, do you want her to come along or not? And you're not going to, I don't believe that you have to give other kids presents when it's one kid's birthday. It's sort of like that. But if the other one wants her to go, then yeah, sure. But you don't feel that you have to at all. Tantrums. I have a whole course on tantrums. Also, I don't talk about it a lot anymore because I got so talked out about tantrums. I can't focus sometimes because I've talked about them so much. Literally, my brain just kind of gets fried. But yeah, check out my tantrum busting course. It's a whole course. It's for toddlers. And if they're still having tantrums as older kids, that's a tell. It means they work. Past the age of 4, they only do what works. So if they're still having tantrums past the age of 4, it means you're feeding it. Any attention is tantrum food. So yeah, you're fertilizing it if you give it any attention. So yeah, I just don't have the bandwidth right now to talk about tantrums. I go like that. Like if I talk about something too much in a day or in a week or whatever, unless it's coaching, and that's why I mix up the ages with my coaching clients, because I can't just talk about teen crisis all day or toddlers ripping off their diapers all day, or you know what I mean? I got to mix up the ages. What's your advice for 3 and a 6-year-old fighting over toys? Yeah, okay, I get that question every single day. When you're a leader, kids don't fight, for one thing, so work on your leadership skill. But in the meantime, just say, look, if you don't want to play together, then you play in your separate rooms, or you play there and you play there. So just separate them. And they'll eventually get sick of playing by themselves and they'll learn how to get along. Also, you never do one-on-one time when you've got siblings fighting. You never spend one-on-one time with one kid and another one. It builds resentment and hatred. So you sit together and you play with them together and you show them how to play well together. And if they start fighting when you're right there, say, okay, that's it, I'm going to go. And then get up and leave. And then try it again. Say, we'll try again in a half hour. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to deal with that. That's just one of them. Merritt, BC. I feel like you're getting more popular here. LOL. Yeah, I see it every day now. I'm walking out and I can see people recognize me. And there's a really specific way that they look at me. I saw it the other day. I was in a store the other day. And this is what I saw. There was a young mom and she looked at me like this and she went. Then she looked away and then she looked at me again. She kept staring at me. And then her mother came along and then she went like this. I always feel like saying, just come up and say hi. It's just awkward. I feel like I have to sort of look normal, because I'm kind of crazy, right? So I feel like I have to sort of act like I'm normal, just walking along. Anyway, it's quite funny. You've told me to ignore her and it works, so thank you. What they're explaining is during a tantrum you ignore. You don't just ignore your children all the time, just to clarify. It's just you ignore tantrums. A tantrum is not, a tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. It's not pain. They're not in agony or anything. They're mad because they didn't get their own way. So yeah, you don't need to feed that. So I'm going to scroll through to make sure that I and that you're here when I answer your questions. Oh, sorry. My eyes have been bugging me just with hay fever. They're all itchy. Okay. I've been using your advice on tantrums and have had wonderful results. It does work. Thank you for your point of view and thought. You're very welcome. You just have to do the work. I give the advice, but it's like anything. You can learn something, but if you don't apply it, it's never going to work. You have to actually do it. So this stuff just works. Someone asked me the other day, they said, well, where did you learn all this? And I'm kid taught. And then, well, they sort of said that, but then they really were wondering why I don't know what anyone else out there is doing. I've never looked at anybody else. I have no idea who else is out there teaching this stuff, because I don't want to, if I'm insulting something or criticizing something, I don't want to be insulting someone. Do you get where I'm coming from? Yeah, I'm very careful. And kids taught me all this. I've never read a book on kids or parenting or anything. Only kids taught me all this. I would never want, and I never have looked at what anyone else is teaching, because I don't want to water down what I know. Like, what I mean is, I know what works. I know kids, teenagers. It's easy for me. I just get it. So why would I look at what anyone else is teaching? It wouldn't make any sense at all for me to do that. And it doesn't mean that their way isn't right too. There's lots of different ways to diet. There's lots of different ways to exercise. There's probably different ways to parent. But I know what I teach works, because I've been doing it for 52 years. So I just know it works. But you got to do it. You got to put it into practice. So I do this. I do stupid things all the time. I drive myself nuts. I study something. I thought, oh, that's great. I'm going to do that. I love that productivity system, but then I never do it. And I can't figure out why I haven't improved. You got to actually apply this stuff. Like, I'm really bad with that. So I get it. Like, it's fine. It's fine to sit here. I'd rather you listen to someone else and apply their stuff than listen to me and not apply it, because I'd like you to get results. I'm here to make a difference. I'm not here just to talk and make money. That's not what I'm about. I'm here to make a difference. This is my passion. This is my legacy in life, is to pass on this information. So I take it really seriously. I would come to say hi for sure. It's funny. It is funny when I get recognized, though. You always can tell. It's just that funny. Like, so every so often someone comes up to me. It's fine. But also they never, it's funny because they come up to me and they just tell me, oh, I see you on there. And then I never quite know what to say. Oh, okay. Have a nice day. It's really funny. So, yeah. I would never be any good as a celebrity at all. I have no charm. I never know what to say in the moment. I'm just awkward. Well, I always try and use humor. Okay, hope you're doing well. How to deal with a 4-year-old behavior in the attitude department. You never address attitude. Attitude is just a tell. It means they don't respect you. You're not a leader. So work on your leadership skill and the attitude goes away naturally. It happens organically. You never address attitude. Attitude just means you're not a leader. Attitude means they don't respect you. So what are you going to do? You can't fix them. You got to fix yourself. You got to be respectable, right? You got to be accountable. So yeah, you can't expect respect if you're not earning it. You got to work for this stuff. You got to earn it. I worked my butt off to get respect with kids, and it's worth it. Once you've got it, then it's easy. Getting it is hard work. How do I motivate my 2-year-old to get, well, you don't motivate 2-year-olds to do anything. How do I motivate my 2-year-old to get ready to leave the house? It takes so long. Well, I don't quite know what you mean. I don't know what the challenge is. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. What do you mean by that? I would just say, well, we're leaving in 5 minutes. If they weren't ready, they'd be under my arm and I'd have their clothes in the other hand and we'd be out in the car getting them dressed out there. So once I say we're going, we're going. Plus, I make sure they're not right in the middle of something. I remember, this is such a cute story. I think I told it yesterday on the live, or I told it to a client. I can't remember. But my daughter was a very sweet, easygoing little, she was just so easy. She was about 2 and she was holding this little doll and she knew, and the rule was we clean up before we leave the house. I can't come home to a messy house. So yeah, I'm fussy. So anyway, the rule was that everything goes in their room before we leave. And I managed stuff like we had toy rotation system. So there was minimal stuff out anyway. It was no big deal. So, and also all their toys were creative toys mostly. So they were things that kept them entertained. And I did a toy rotation system. So they never needed a lot of stuff out. They only needed one thing to play with, basically. Anyway, my daughter was 2 and she had this little doll. And I kept saying, oh, you're such a wonderful mommy. Look how gentle. Yeah, good mom. I don't know how she talked, but yeah, she was so gentle and loving towards this baby doll. And she knew we had to go pick her brother up at school soon because I told her we're going to be leaving soon. Oh, wavu. She's so gentle and loving. So I said, okay, time to go. And she comes running down the hall, holding her baby, this precious little baby doll that she was so gentle, such a lovely mom, loving and gentle and sweet. As she goes to pass by her bedroom, she knew that nothing went in the car, no toys, no dolls, nothing. So she knew that doll had to go in her room. Do you know what she did? She was dying to go pick up her beloved brother. She runs, as she passes her room, she grabs the doll by the hair and chucks it in her room as she runs past. And I thought, yeah, what a sweet, gentle mother. It just struck me as so funny. Wish I had that on video. Yeah, so much for that. But yeah, she cleaned up before we left and she was out the door. So my kids knew I meant what I said and I said what I meant. So when I said we're leaving. And they would have been carted under my arm. But also I made sure I was sort of preparing ahead of time and I was very organized myself. So I was already organized. So I knew that I had time to sort of pull a 2-year-old along too, because they can't do everything themselves, although they can throw their doll by the hair into their room. How do I get my 10-month-old to stop throwing food on the floor? They don't learn quickly at that age. But what you do is as soon as they throw it on the floor, you just say no, throw it in the garbage, and then hand feed them. They're not going to like it. They're going to want to feed themselves and just keep hand feeding them. And they're really little, so I would just take a break. I wouldn't necessarily clean them up and put them down like I would as they get older, but I would just say, I just look away if they don't want to be hand fed, and then try and hand feed them again. So yeah, you hand feed them, let them know. And then the next meal, you can give them a little bit of food to feed themselves. And then when they throw it, you do the exact same thing. So you're letting them know. They'll get hungry enough that they'll stop throwing food, but they're not going to learn for a while. She doesn't want to get dressed, eats breakfast slowly, will have a meltdown about everything. Yeah, it's a whole system. I can't answer that easily. You got to get really organized in your house. And if she's not listening to anything, my kids would go in the car without breakfast. And you know what I mean? Like I just make what I said is going to happen, it's going to happen. But I would probably pack something healthy. Yeah, there's too much going on there. I don't know what your household's like. Is it chaotic, or you know what I mean? Like, how organized is it? Systems are everything. 3-year-old keeps running to her room and slams her door. I want to ignore it, but I don't think that's helping. So is it when she doesn't get her own way? That's what she does? Yeah, I would let that go for a while. And when she comes out, I would say there's a consequence for slamming your door. And I would give her a consequence. So check out the behavior board. I would put down no slamming doors. And yeah. And have a consequence right away. Don't say if you do that again, you'll get a consequence. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, you can get away with killing one person, but you can't kill the next. Like, you got to punish the crime. So yeah, she'll learn. Well, I didn't know. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? So yeah, she knows not to slam a door. They're not idiots. Parents always tell me how gifted their children are in the first session, and then they're defending them. Oh, they didn't know. Yeah, they know. They know throwing a remote at the TV is bad. Oh, but they didn't know. Yeah, they knew. They were gifted. Now all of a sudden they're a moron. Can't have it both ways. So I'm so tactful. Not. Okay. Oops, I got to get going. I'm moving over to Instagram now. I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where I save all my lives. I always say YouTube is the best place to watch me because that's my small audience is on YouTube, and the rest are like really big. Especially Instagram and TikTok, they're really large. So, but then I keep forgetting to look at the YouTube questions. Best place to watch me, but I won't look at your questions. But what I mean is there are less people on there, so I'm more likely to see your questions. Otherwise, I'm just, scrolling through all the rest. Anyway, I got to get going. I'm moving over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, or you can look into coaching. And anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Okay, so I'm going to look on YouTube now. Okay, my 6-year-old son gets bad notes from his teacher and about not listening to lessons and getting distracted in class by his friends. How should I handle that with him? Also, I've been taking your advice and was hitting your video, and my household is so much more peaceful. Good. I don't know what's going on with your son. Like, is he getting bullied? Or, yeah, if he's getting notes from the teacher, I would just say every time you get a note from the teacher, there's going to be a consequence when you come home. So don't make it, it's not bad. It's just that it's teaching him how to have self-discipline, right? So, but yeah, I don't quite know why. I need more information on that one. But generally, just have a consequence. Say every time I get a note from the teacher that you're distracted and you're disrupting the class or whatever, there'll be a consequence when you come home. There's a lot of different ways we could go about that, but that's just my quick live answer here with the information I've got. Okay. This is from Faithful Feline on YouTube. I tried the ignore a tantrum today and it worked. He was having a tantrum over a spoon, LOL. You know, they can have a tantrum over a piece of dust floating by. It took a while for him to stop, but will be interesting to see if his tantrum stopped. What happens, they don't just stop usually. They'll keep having them, but they'll lessen in duration, intensity, and frequency. And then by about 3.5, then they'll stop. But yeah, but they may only have one every few months. So as time goes on. Okay, welcome to my live. I'm on, where am I? Instagram. I'm at 499,000 followers on Instagram now. So my daughter and I are both watching, see if it flips, like when it flips over. But yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for your support. 499,000. This is my second biggest platform. TikTok's my biggest one, but Instagram, I've only been on Instagram for a year now. And I was on TikTok for 6 months. I got up to 500,000 on TikTok in 6 months. That blew up. I don't know what happened there. I still don't understand TikTok. Anyway, do you know TikToks they don't like Canadians, evidently. They don't pay us in Canada. When I found out how much money people are making on TikTok in other countries, I was blown away. We make nothing here in Canada. Evidently, they don't like us. Isn't that interesting? Well, they let us see TikTok anyway. I love TikTok. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. And you can check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, toddlers and older kids. And you can look into coaching. My wait list is very short right now. It was a month long just recently. And now it's down to, I think I'll get back to someone in the same day. It depends on ages, though. I need to mix up the ages. So, but yeah, it's a good time. If you want coaching, now's a good time to look into it. Only if you want to, you don't have to. Okay. I do lots of free stuff. That's why I'm on here. I don't get paid for any of this. This is all free. I love doing these lives. How to keep my 2.5-year-old to stay in her big girl bed. You check out my boot camp course. It's a whole process. How to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. That's the hard part. It's one of my mini courses. It's also included in both the boot camp courses. But if you just want bedtime, it's just one little mini course. So you can check that out. It's in the link above. It's a process. It's usually one night of hell, but it's usually only one night. This was interesting. I went to buy some running shoes today, some of those Hokas, because I got all sorts of knee problems. Anyway, and they're supposed to be really spongy. So I rode my bike. It was like a good half-hour ride. And I got to the store and darned, I grabbed my bike bag when I left, but I didn't grab my normal bag that I put across my body. So I had no money on me. So I said to the guy, I said, oh, shoot. I said, I'll go home and I'll come back with my credit card. And he goes, no, just take the shoes and phone in with your credit card. So there was other people around. And I said, well, I'm not comfortable doing that. I said, and he says, well, yeah. I said, don't worry about it. I trust you. So anyway, so then he says, no, honestly, just take them and phone in your credit card number. So I said, no, I'll be honest. I said, I'm just not comfortable doing that. I said, what if I get hit by a car and you never get your money? You're going to think that I'm some kind of a swindler. So anyway, he goes, no, really just take the shoes. And so anyway, and then, so this lady, they were all laughing at me. I wouldn't do it. I went home and I went back and got the shoes. But would you have done that? Would you have just gone home and then phoned in the credit card? It seems like a logical thing to do, but I'm such a rule follower that it goes against the grain. What if I'd been hit by a car? I was in a coma and then I'd probably wake up early just to make sure I paid for my shoes. Oh God. Struck me as funny. How can I motivate my 18-year-old to get a job? Are you paying for the phone? Enough said. Don't get caught up in the consequences. Everyone does. What's the consequence? The consequence is not the answer. Just a good deed. Do a chore. That's a good enough consequence. If they won't do the chore, then you take something away. So yeah. Don't get caught up in what the consequence is. Everyone thinks there's this magic consequence. It's not about the consequence. It's about the consistency and having, it's almost any consequence is okay, so long as you're consistent with it. Check out my Bedtime Battles course. It's in the link above. It's one of my mini courses. Okay, how to stop my 7-year-old from wetting the bed. I don't know if it's a medical issue, an emotional issue, or just that they're having too much to drink before bedtime. I don't know why. Never shame them though. So I would have to sort of assess that and figure out what's going on. Don't let them have anything to drink 90 minutes before bedtime. Yeah. And also do the stop start. I'd have them, checked by a doctor too, to see if they have some bladder issue. They might just have a real short connection, evidently, from the bladder to where it comes out. So that might be part of it, or they've just got a weak bladder, the muscle control. So have them stop start while they're peeing. Hard to do, by the way. Stop start, it'll strengthen the muscle, but talk to a doctor, because I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not smart enough for that. 16-month-old started throwing herself on the floor with tantrums. Yeah, they're going to do that. You always ignore tantrums, but you physically restrain them when they're getting violent and they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. So you just hold them like down, just hold them on the floor and just say no, and then hold them, just prevent them from banging their head on the floor, and then just look away. So you don't keep talking to them or don't look at them. So you're still ignoring them, but you're physically restraining them to keep them safe. But yeah, a lot of them do that. 3-year-old acting out and hitting at school and is scared of teacher because she's always screaming at him. Do I ask to switch classes? I wouldn't. No way. Yeah. No. You'd kind of have to hire me for that. That's kind of red zone. There's a lot going on there. So you'd have to hire me for coaching for that one. But I'm just saying that's the only option I've got, because I need to assess the situation. I don't know why it's happening. What do they like at home? What does the teacher say? Do you talk to the teacher, or are you defensive and don't believe the teacher? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to figure it out. 2-year-old has a hard time transitioning. Yeah, no tips. It's just, it's a skill they'll learn. I have a hard time with transitions. I like familiarity. You should see me with my morning routine. I'm trying to break some of it, but it's just like clockwork. I'm so regimented. It's hard to change, Like if something else comes up and my morning routine's interrupted, I say, no, this is my morning routine. I'm going to do it no matter what else is going on in my life. But yeah, I don't like change either. So they say as you get older, you get set in your ways. And I can see that. I'm in my 60s now. I can see that. But it's because we know what we like. We know what works for us. So I'm not set in my ways with a lot of things, but when I like something like my morning routine, I'm very set in my ways with that. But I'm trying to be more flexible. So we'll see. How can I get my 2-year-old into a car seat without the fight? Well, never shy away from the fight. Don't ever try and stop the fight. Just don't let it get to you. My son had tantrums. They either do or they don't. And that was one of the battles. He didn't do it that often, but he would every so often, he'd go straight as a board, especially when we're leaving somewhere he didn't want to leave and he starts tantruming. So I'm getting him in that car seat. Now, there is no way that I would let him not get in that car seat. He's getting in. But here's what I'm doing. I'm putting him over the car seat, stiff as a board. He's not stiff as a board. He's like this. You know how they arch their back? And so I just have my hand on his stomach. My friends and I used to call it the karate chop. We're just waiting for them to take a breath, and then we chop them and fold them into the car seat. They're not really hitting them with a karate, but we used to call it the karate chop. So I'm just waiting, not looking at him, not talking to him, not showing that it's driving me nuts, which it was. So I'm just looking around, waiting. And as soon as he weakens a little bit, fold him in, snip, and he's in there like a shot. So yeah, just make it happen. Don't try and reason with them. Don't try and reason with a toddler. It's don't get me started. I'm talking to myself when I say that. Yeah, don't try all this discussion, all this negotiating, all this discussing big feelings and big emotions with toddlers. It's absolute garbage. I know it's trendy, but it's garbage. That's for you, not for them. Oh, good. I'm so glad I found you when my daughter's only 13 months old. I feel like I have a toolbox for what's to come. Yeah, I think being prepped helps. I had a lot of experience with kids before I had my own. And I'll be honest, it was pretty darn easy. Yeah, because I had so much experience. How to teach the concept of respect. You teach it to yourself. You give it to get it. So you're trying to demand respect. You don't do that. You command it. So work on yourself. You earn that respect. You don't teach them how to respect you. You teach yourself how to be respected. There's a huge difference. We're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. Like if a kid didn't respect me that I was working with, I used to think, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? I never blame the kids. I blame myself. What am I doing wrong here? I gotta up my skill here. There's something going on here. So yeah, take the leadership role. Don't just respect me. You know, that's the old fashioned way. You got to earn that. You got to work for it. This is from Renee. I found your channel and started watching your videos a few weeks ago, and I immediately started implementing everything you teach. Good. I'd rather people watch and implement or else go somewhere else. It drives me nuts if I think that you've got this information, you're not using it. So yeah, use it. It's meant to be used. I'm so grateful for your wisdom. Thank you. You're very welcome. But yeah, I'd rather you watch someone else and try their advice. I'd rather you take action with someone else than just watch me. Yeah, because I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you, raising nice kids is secondary to me. I want you to enjoy parenting. That's number one, but you can't enjoy kids who are acting out, right? So yeah, discipline's a tiny part of what I teach. I teach about connecting. Yeah. So I'm at 499,000 followers here on Instagram. My daughter and I are watching it very carefully to see when it flips over to 500. How exciting, 500,000 followers on here. It's, yeah, this is my second biggest platform. TikTok's my biggest one. But this one, I've only been on Instagram now for just, I think, probably about a year now. So I'm blown away by that. I can't even fathom that number. Just blown away. Okay. Help with school. Started well first week, but she cries in playground, feeling overwhelmed. She says she doesn't want to go to school. Usually I asked for an age. Oh, did you put that? 3. Okay. It is overwhelming. They have a lot of hope and excitement initially, and then they realize, oh, it's not working. I'm sad. I'm lonely. So yeah, do a lot of role playing. Pretend that you're her and she's the other kids and vice versa. Go back and forth. Role play. You know, and teach her how to play with other kids and stuff like that. Do your methods still work? Okay. Yes. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm going to go back because you've written a few things here. So this is from Faithful Feline. Oh, you wrote something at the top. Oh, right. Okay. Big feelings is garbage. It never made sense to me because it doesn't prepare kids for adulthood at all. You're the first parenting coach that's made sense to me. Thank you. Well, I'm sure there's other good ones out there too. It's just, if it resonates with you, that's great. Do your methods still work if one of the parents implements them? I'm having trouble getting my, okay. There only needs to be one leader, but you have to be on the same page. I was just coaching a client and the father's more likely to give in. This is often the way it is, but you have to use the leader as leverage. Like, let's say the pleaser parent who doesn't want to do any of this stuff, they can just say, do you want me to tell mom? Or do you want me to tell dad? That's what my ex-husband did. Because I didn't want him messing up the kids. I was the leader. I wanted to do all that stuff. So if the kids ever disrespected him when they were little, they would sometimes. They'd try and push him around a little bit because they knew he was the weaker link, right? So then he would just say, do you want me to tell mom? That's all it took. So the other parent has to use the leader as leverage. They can't go against them. They can't say, oh, you don't have to do that. I'll give you whatever you want. It doesn't work then because they're sabotaging your leadership. But past the age of 3.5 to 4, their self-esteem is at the highest when they're with the leader, because the leader brings out the best in them and you give them pride, right? So then it doesn't matter what anyone else does. They're going to be under your leadership umbrella. They're going to be respectful to everybody. But they have to be like 4 by the time that happens. My friend got me onto you and love your advice. Excellent. I'm often hired by friends or family. Like once someone hires me, they say, what's going on? Your family's, happier and all that. So then they'll recommend me. This was funny. I was hired by 2 sisters and they had the same age kids. The sisters lived nearby. Everything was so similar. But I said, don't compare notes. And I said that because coaching is different with everybody. And it was funny. They said that they were comparing notes on what, the advice I was giving them. And they said, are you sure you're talking to the same Lisa? It was so different. But I have to take into consideration their personalities, right? Because, one might be a little bit more fragile emotionally because her kids are really driving her insane. The other one's tougher. So I'll give them different advice. But it was so funny. They had to, They literally were worried that they'd hired a different Lisa. It was that different. It's not always that different, but it's funny. How do I go about my 3.5-year-old who doesn't like it when someone praises him? I don't know what that means. Just go, don't be rude, yeah. And by the way, kids don't like praise I always say parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Praise doesn't do anything for kids. Don't take that out of context, like a lot of people do. I've been told a lot of people just take that snippet and say what a horrible parenting coach she is. And I love that stuff anyway. Any attention like that is fuel. Anyway, it means I'm a threat, right? So I love it when other people start criticizing me. And that's one of the things they do is the praise one. Anyway, praise is not their love language. Play is children's love language. You look at a 5-year-old little boy and you say to him, you're wonderful, you're special. I just think the world of you. I love you so much. You can do anything you want. Okay, I'm going to go and read a book now. Look at his face. Now you say to that same 5-year-old little boy, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? Look at his face. Look at the difference. That is love. That's his love language. He doesn't give a hoot about all the praise. Yeah. So I'm not saying that child should be rude when they get praise, but praise is not their love language. Can you give an example of leadership with a nearly 2-year-old? Well, I'm going to change your diaper and then make it happen, no matter what they do. Let's say they're squirming around and you usually negotiate with them or try and get them a toy before you change it. Yeah, just say what's going to happen, then follow through and make it happen. Okay, I'm going to brush your teeth now. No, and they run the other direction. I would grab them so quick and that toothbrush would be in their mouth. Okay, maybe I might be brushing a nose or something because they're fighting me, but I follow through. So follow through with what you say, but don't say something unless you're willing to follow through with it. A lot of parents do this. They say, oh, well, I didn't have time. And I said, well, why'd you say it then? Like I would never say something unless I was ready to follow through with it. So yeah, follow through. Say what you mean what you say with 2-year-olds. And play hard. I played hard with my kids because play is their love language. Play is how you connect with toddlers. And all kids. I used humor with teenagers. It's fun, joy, laughter. That is how you connect with all people. I think, well, for me anyway, I like humor. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world, not in your world. You don't take them to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4, it's kind of similar. You discipline a toddler in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions. If they do something naughty, you remove them from the fun or the fun from them just for a few minutes or whatever. And when I say remove them, it's not timeout. You take them with you. You don't set them in a corner. I hate timeout. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They're nuts. Well, I always call them crazy. It's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. They just have no concept of the world. Okay, they're just forming. So they're just not figure-outable. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Figure that one out. Okay. Okay. Does a 2-year-old need childcare to socialize? I was huge on socializing my kids, but I was a stay-at-home mom and they never went in childcare or anything. We didn't even get babysitters. So, but I went to the gym every day and they went in that gym daycare. So, and it was funny because aerobics I used to teach it in that too. And aerobics only took an hour, but it was funny. They were in there for like 2.5 hours. You should have seen all us moms walking back to the daycare to pick up our kids. We were just slow as anything. So the daycare ladies got to the point they'd even come looking for us. Come on, moms. We know you're done. Anyway, so yeah, they had a lot of socialization. Also, I was out every day. I had play groups and mommy groups and all this sort of stuff. So we were out and about a lot. And yeah, so they don't need daycare or childcare to socialize. They can do it with you. But, so I do think it's important to get them out a lot. Should you be giving options when it comes to snacking? A lot of parents want to give toddlers choices. It can be overdone. I guess it's okay sometimes, but if they're not good at making a like, I didn't do that with my kids. They survived. They were just fine. They're very good decision makers, actually. But yeah, toddlers, I don't think need to be choose. I think they can choose the fun things like which toy to play with. But my kids never would have chosen what we're eating or what they're wearing. I was in charge of that. But the fun stuff, they were in charge of the play. I was in charge of everything else. But if they wanted to play with something, they chose what we played with and how we played. That was because I believe in playing in their world and letting them be in charge of fun. So, yeah. Or you don't discipline a child who's kicking on the table when you're trying to change their nappy. Just hold them down, get it on as fast as possible. That's what I did with my kids. They'll just stop doing it eventually. So yeah, they all go through that crocodile spin, you know. But yeah, so yeah, don't discipline that. Just get the nappy on as fast as you can. That's what I did. I didn't negotiate. I didn't talk to them. Once they started being difficult, I would just hold them down and get that on and get it done as fast as possible. Then every time I'd change them, once they got used to this, then they'd just lay there and let it happen. But their dad would be more inclined to negotiate with them. Do you want a toy? Do you want this? And they fought him all the time, or a lot longer than they fought me. But yeah, once they realized I wasn't going to put up with it, I just got the nappy changed anyway. So just don't play the game. Potty training, I have a course on that. It's a whole system. I did that. I often tell this. I used to do a lot of TV, and I was doing the morning breakfast TV or something here. I don't even think they have it anymore. I don't know. Anyway, I don't have TV, but it was breakfast TV. This was probably 15 years ago. And I was teaching, I was brought on as a parenting expert, and people would call in with questions, or there'd be a topic of the week or whatever. And so I came that morning to talk about potty training because I had a book out, the potty course. Well, it's now in course, but it was a book at the time. And so they had bought a toilet, and I was on stage with a toilet. I was on the TV with a toilet. So yeah, I thought, wow, what a classy job I have. that was my partner, was the toilet. So yeah, it was funny. They didn't tell me ahead of time. They said, oh, and they were so proud of the fact that they'd gone out and bought a toilet. Lisa, we bought a toilet for you to have on stage. Oh, thanks. I'm a class act. Okay. Yep, I hear this all the time. Do you have some advice for teen playing video games? Good student, but too much of screen with friends. Yep. Not really interest, no sports, musical instruments, tried everything, attitude. Yeah, okay. I don't have a course on teens quite yet, but you can hire me if you want my help with that, because I need to assess what kind of parent you are, the history, where you are, what your relationship is like, what you've tried, what worked, what didn't. Anyway, teenagers, they're my favorite age, actually. Oh, sugar. Just a sec. I'm going to read out my top 4 tips. Like if you don't want to hire me for coaching, I've got my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information and then I'm going to tell you a story. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. And this is for teenagers, by the way. And you negotiate as much as possible. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Negotiate. Number 3, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, you just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? Right? Okay. And number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. I won't go on about that. I can ramble on about that one. But yeah, if you're enjoying your teenager, don't use that time to talk about all the ways they've disappointed you. They will shut you out and they won't talk to you again. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a funny story. Not a funny story. It's kind of cute. My son was 14. We were best friends. Buddy, laughing, giggling all the time. Every single morning I'd get up and I'd say, morning, sweetie. And he'd turn around and he'd go, morning, mom, voice cracking. He was just adorable. Anyway, one morning, he was turned 15. And I'll never forget this. I came downstairs and I said, morning, sweetie. And he turned around. His face looked different and everything. He turned around. He went, morning, mom. He turned into a man. And he wasn't giggling with me as much. We weren't best buddies. Hey, you know what I mean? Like it was just awkward. And I thought, wow, this is different. And then I said to him, we aren't hanging out as much. And he goes, Mom, he says, I'm not your girlfriend anymore. It's like heartbroken. Thank God I had a daughter coming up behind him, so I had a girlfriend there. But anyway, it was quite, how do I bond with this kid? He was into heavy metal music. video games, and he was Gothic style, like, I mean, it just was nothing like me. I'm like Mary Poppins. I'm so conservative. I'm like Mary Poppins. Anyway, I thought, how am I going to bond with this kid? We got nothing in common. And so, you know what I did? I became furniture. And what I mean by that is, like, you got to connect with teenagers. It's not just a matter of telling them what to do. It's not at all what you do. And when I'm hired to work with parents of teenagers, the first session or two is nothing but connecting. You got to connect first. You got to find your way into their world. You connect in their world, not yours, but you got to wait till you're invited. So I became furniture. He's playing video games down the rec room. I sat down beside him with a magazine. Don't use a phone, just a magazine. I'm looking up every so often. I never said a word. Next thing you know, we're talking about the game. Next thing you know, he's handing me a controller and we're playing video games. Then he realized I was lousy at the laps, the racing ones. So then we started playing Guitar Hero. We got into that. So I waited till I was invited, but I made myself very available. I became furniture. I just sat down right next to him. Then next thing you know, he's making me playlists of music that he loves, because he loved heavy metal and I hated it. But we found out I loved NWA, Greatest Hits. I still listen to it at the gym. It'd be embarrassing if anyone knew what I was listening to. It's vile. But I'm very open-minded with stuff like that. So I listened to it and he found songs I would like. So we bonded in his world and became friends again, but different. He's a young man now. It's just different. So you want to connect with your son is what I'm saying. And you do so in their world, but you don't try and rush it. You don't push yourself on them. Wait till you're invited. Okay. Oh, I'm going to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. And I hit 499,000 followers this morning on Instagram. So I'm very excited. My daughter and I are watching it. She works with me. My daughter and I are watching it when it takes over to 500,000. We'll be texting each other for sure. Anyway, thanks so much for your support. That's a huge number. It's hard to grasp. It's just unbelievable to me. Anyway, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, or you can look into coaching. Anyway, I got to go. I'm moving over to TikTok and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting.
Hi, my name is Chris.
A lot of buttons to push. Okay, let's see YouTube here. I'm a single mom and have a 17-year-old daughter in grade 12, struggling getting to school constantly. Yeah, I just talked about teenagers. You got to work on your connection before you can do anything, like deal with any behavior or anything. So work on your connection. If you want to hire me, that's coaching. Otherwise, just keep watching. I just went through, you probably were here. I just talked about the top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. They are by far my favorite age because they're just so interesting, right? And if you've got a good relationship, they're a lot of fun. There's a couple things that are really common with teenagers that I don't do. One is I never had a curfew. We just discuss, whenever they were going out. Well, if you have fun, let me know and we'll see, whenever you want to come home. Or if I wanted them to come home earlier, they would. So I never had like any set, like if I go out and if I'm having fun, I want to stay out later. Why would I have a curfew for myself and I don't have one for them? So I was very respectful of a lot of things with teenagers. But there was mutual respect there. So, and you're their leader. Between the ages of 3 and 12, you're at the height of your leadership as a parent. Once they hit 13, you want to pass the torch over to them. They're going to make mistakes with that leadership. They're going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. You want to be there to help them and support them in learning how to lead themselves because they're becoming adults. Teenagers are great. It's just parents don't transition into those teen years with their kids very well. But teenagers are easy. They're great. But it's the transition for the parent that is the struggle. Anyway, thanks for joining me here. I am on TikTok now. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're not new, welcome back. If you go to the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of those now, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. And you can look into coaching. Actually, coaching is going really well right now. I don't have a huge wait list right now. I've got a few here. But yeah, I got through it all in the weekend. I got through my whole coaching intake form. So woohoo! That hasn't happened in quite some time, so that's good. And sometimes I'll take someone in the same day. I'm sometimes looking for a certain age because I like to fill up the age. So I know one time someone asked me, they said, how come I got an invoice, like an offer of, being taken for coaching, and my friend didn't? We signed up at the same time, different age kids. I like to mix up the ages just for my own sanity because I can't have all teenagers or all toddlers in my roster of coaching. So that's why. So if you want coaching, if you sign up today for it, I might be able to take you on today, depending. I don't want to tell you what age I'm looking for right now, but anyway, and that could change tomorrow. So best advice for raising my 18-month-old. Just go with it. Go with the flow. I'm going to read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, I meant. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. I just did a video on that recently. It did really well. What age is your favorite? My teenagers is my favorite age. Okay, these are toddlers' top 5 tips. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you don't take them to the nail salon. You connect in their world, go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words, they're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions, and you have to be consistent because they learn through repetition. And then number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. Yeah, that video did really well. You know what was funny is my daughter she does all my social media and marketing and all that. She posted that video. It got like 300 views. And then she reposted it and it got 1 million. So TikTok doesn't always push out consistently, whereas the other platforms do. TikTok just decides they want to push a video out or not. Doesn't matter what. Like that usually does really well. All those tags usually do really well, and they still didn't push it out the first time. Isn't that interesting? Why would they do that? So if anyone understands TikTok, can you let us know? Yeah. It's just funny. My daughter said, I'm going to post that one again. It did well everywhere else, but it only got like 300 views the first time she posted it. We're trying to serve you in the way you want. You know what I mean? Like we kind of are getting an idea of what you want to hear. So yeah, that's why she's very good at all this stuff, figuring out what does well and what you want to hear and what you don't. What I like talking about is not always what you want to hear. What is it that I love talking about, but no one ever looks at? Oh shoot, what is it? And I don't even talk about it anymore, but it's such great information. And yet no one ever looks at the video ever. Oh, it's consequences. Everyone asks, what's a good consequence? So I did a video on list of consequences. No one looked at it across all my platforms. It died. I think we even took it down. Isn't that funny? Everyone asks about consequences all the time. And no one looked at that video. So go figure. What people ask in a live isn't always what they watch on video. Definitely don't understand TikTok, but I saved it. We don't understand it either. Actually, TikTok's my biggest platform. But I don't know how that happened for sure. I have no idea. We were talking about something. My daughter and I are doing our podcast now, and it's going to be released. The first 3 episodes are going to be released on the 24th of September. So anyway, we've already finished 8 of them, and we're doing it together. She's on camera too. If you watch it, wherever we're going to put it, I don't know how she does all that. Anyway, it was quite interesting. Stuff's coming out because her memories of her childhood are different from my memories of her childhood, because she saw it from a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. So we were talking, and one of the questions brought up this conversation, and really, I didn't really discipline. Like, do you ever remember disciplining your kids, or how did you discipline them? And I really didn't have to. I got respect when they were tiny, like 3.5, and then kind of sailed through, right? It just took mom's look. That was all it took. Anyway, so my daughter said, and this was fascinating. She goes, you were the one that was always in trouble. And it's true. I was always in trouble. I was always messing up. So I don't really feel like telling this whole story because I just told it like an hour ago. Anyway, but yeah, I was always messing up. Like, oh, I promise tonight I'll make muffins. And then they wouldn't say a word because they knew the next morning they'd come in and say, you didn't, I don't see no muffins. So you promised you were going to make muffins and I don't see no muffins here. So I go, oh, shoot, what do you want? Like I talk a lot and I don't always think. My mouth is completely separate from my brain half the time. So yeah, I just promise stuff and then I forget. But I follow through, like there's a consequence. If I forget, if I mess up, my kids loved it when I messed up. So I'd end up taking them somewhere they wanted to go. We'd go to the arcade or something. So yeah, you got to make amends. But yeah, I was always forgetting, or I don't know, it was nuts. So, but yeah, I was the one that was way more in trouble than they were. I'd forgotten that. But you got to be accountable. And that's what makes it fun. They had a blast with that. They loved it when I messed up. Okay, this is kind of heavier stuff, and I deal with this stuff in coaching, but not so much on here. But I'll just sort of touch on this. Biggest advice for children with one parent being absent addict. So you've got a parent who's just failed completely because they're addicted or they've got mental health issues or for whatever reason. I always tell kids stuff like this. I always say to tell them they love you, but they just don't know how to be a parent right now. Not everybody knows how to be a parent. And just say that, but they love you. But don't make excuses for them, but just say they love you and they're doing their best. They do their best. So just kind of skirt around the issue, especially with younger children. But secrets imply shame, and children take everything on as their own fault. So if their parent is not around, they think it's their fault. So that's what you have to get that. You have to try and be very aware of that no matter what's going on. If you divorce, it's their fault because they're narcissists, right? All children are. It's natural that they see everything from their own point of view because they don't have context of the world or other people yet to the same extent that we do. Or I guess a lot of adults don't, but you know what I mean. So they see everything as their fault. You want to eliminate that guilt, that shame, that they're hurt because they think their parent isn't there because they don't love them. So yeah, they're just there because they don't know how to parent. They want to, but they just don't know how to parent. But hopefully they'll learn one day, whatever. But it's not your fault. You're wonderful and all that. So, but just remember, they always take it on as being their own flaw. That they're not good enough. It's guaranteed. That's how kids take this stuff. Guaranteed. Emotional regulation resources. Be a leader and your children will be emotionally regulated. It's all up to you. You don't emotionally regulate children. You set yourself up as a leader. It makes them feel safe. It increases their self-esteem. They have pride in themselves and they're regulated. That's how it goes. Children without a leader, a mess. It's like if you are not a leader for your children at home and you send them out in the world, they're going to be very vulnerable, very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. You get the idea. But if you're a leader at home, they come to you for everything. They feel safe. They have a safe place to land. They just feel they're grounded. You don't emotionally regulate them. You work on yourself, work on your leadership. Think about it. Have you ever had a really great mentor, someone who makes you feel safe? You can go to them and tell them anything. That's what this is. How much is your coaching? You'd have to look online. I just increased my fees. I was going to double them, but I didn't. I chickened out. I won't be coaching forever. Yeah. I keep saying I'm going to quit coaching because I don't need to coach. And I just love it. It's my favorite part of my business is coaching because I get connected with the parents. I mother them, right? I just feel... Sometimes I feel like I'm really nasty and because I just say what they need to hear. And I was talking to this one mom recently. If she's watching, she'll know. And I said something to her and she goes, thanks, Lisa. She goes, I never feel judged. I feel like you're my friend. I thought I was being so nasty. Oh, it was funny. Anyway, I thought I was being mean. She goes, no, I get it. You care. Oh, that was so cute. Okay. Do you do one-on-one coaching? Yeah, I do. I do for now. I always say, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it. I'm getting older now and I don't need to coach. We've got our podcast, we've got our courses, we've got other stuff going on. So yeah, and the podcast is going to be released next Tuesday, the 24th of September. My daughter does all that stuff. We did it together. We're doing our podcast together. God, it's fun. I was surprised she suggested she was going to be on it. I'm always trying to get her on camera because she works with me, right? But she hates being in front of the camera. So, and it's funny, whenever we'll usually record 2 or 3 podcasts in a row, and then she's exhausted, whereas I'm ready to do 20 more. I get all exhilarated. She's like, okay, I'm done. Like, she just doesn't like being in front of the camera. She's good at it, but she doesn't enjoy it, whereas I love it. So it's just quite funny. One's all energized, and then she starts talking about metrics and behind the scenes marketing and numbers, and I'm like falling asleep. So I hate all that stuff. Thank God we've got totally different interests. That's why we work so well together. What's it going to be called? The podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. That's it. We worked for ages on that name. No, just BratBusters Parenting Podcast. But it's the two of us, mother-daughter. Yeah. My daughter was showing me this comment, and someone said, I get trashed a lot by other coaches or experts, right? And they like trashing me, which is great. It means I'm a threat, right? So I take it as a compliment. Anyway, she doesn't like it. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, and they said, oh, well, her kids aren't even talking to her. Well, and then someone in the comments said, actually, her daughters are business partners. So I guess we don't talk. Right? It was funny. Yeah, she was pointing that out. And also, evidently, someone else said, another person who's trashing me said that I have 2 sons who don't talk to me. I have a daughter and a son, and I talk to both of them. So, but they have my son who's in jail, evidently. It's funny. It's funny how you can't believe, and I'm not a celebrity by any means, but I kind of thought, wow, I wonder how many people believe this stuff. Like, it's quite interesting. I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff about myself. Why would they trash you? I'm a threat. It's other people who teach parenting. I'm a threat. So that's why. And that's okay. That's fine. The podcast is September 24th, and we've got 8 episodes are already filmed, ready to go, but 3 of them are going to be released next on the 24th. We don't know where we're going to go with that. It's just mother-daughter right now. We're answering questions sent in by you. And because we put that out she put it out, she does all that. She put it out on Instagram a couple weeks ago. And so we're just answering your questions. But one day, I don't know where we're going to go. We're going to see where it goes. We don't know. We have no idea. So we're just throwing it out there. I don't actually listen to podcasts very much because when I don't know how to do it. I never know who I'm listening to. Next thing you know, I'm listening to someone else and they're talking about nutrition. And the next person's talking. I don't even know who I'm listening to. They never seem to introduce themselves, do they? They never say, hi, this is so-and-so with such. They never do. So I never know who anyway, I'm old. I have a hard time with them. But my daughter said, no, podcasts are really big right now. So that's why she told me we're doing one. I just follow what she tells me to do. What do you think of how to talk so little kids listen book? I've never read a book on parenting or kids, so I wouldn't have a clue. And I don't critique other people's work because I've never looked at it. So I'm kid taught. I just teach what I know, like through working with kids. I've never read a book on. Why would I? How did you get into this? I'm 63 now, and I was 11 years old when I first started volunteering in daycare centers. Like, what a weird thing for a kid to do, eh? But I was always mothering. I was meant to mother, obviously. And it was fascinating to me because I felt that if you can understand kids, you can understand yourself. So like little kids. And so I thought, I just always found kids fascinating. And anyway, and then the daycare ladies kept asking me, well, how do you do that? You're fun, but they listen to you. Like they would listen to whatever I said. I didn't know how to explain that because I didn't know. But I was a leader. I was a leader back then with kids. I always found kids easy. And then I thought I was going to be a child psychologist. They kicked me out because I asked too many questions of the teacher. So they kicked me out of that. So thank God I never did it because I hated what they were teaching. It was so patronizing. And I said, and I kept saying, kids can see through this stuff. Why would you talk to them like that? Anyway, they kicked me out. Rightly so. So I never would have made a good psychologist. I'm sure they teach better stuff now. What they were teaching was garbage back then, 40 years ago. Anyway, and then I just volunteered for years and years. I babysat like a lot. And then I volunteered for years and years and years in all sorts of schools and detention centers and hospitals and all sorts of places, just figuring kids out and teenagers and all that. And I just found it fascinating. And then when I was working with delinquent teenagers, they said, you got to teach this, Lisa, because they said, no one's ever talked to us like you do. So they were the ones who told me to go into this. And then years later, I did. But I always did it just volunteering because I always felt it was my calling. I just always understood kids. I found them, I just loved it. So, and then I turned it into a business 17 years ago. And then really it took off like big time. I was doing fine before, but it took off 2.5 years ago. I went on TikTok and blew up. Within 6 months, I had 500,000 followers on TikTok. It was just unbelievable. And then a year ago, my daughter, I wasn't on Instagram or Facebook or anything else, really. I mean, I was sort of on there years ago, but never really did anything with it. And my daughter said, Mom, she had a corporate job. She was, working full time. And she goes, I'm going to get you started on Instagram and Facebook, and then you can hire someone to manage that. And she started with it, and we just blew up when she got involved. And really fast, everything just happened. And then she's working with me full time. But that happened organically. We did not plan any of that. And I'm the front person in the business, but she's the one behind the scenes doing all the grunt work, like I call it grunt work because I hate it. All the social media, the marketing, the planning, I hate all that stuff. She loves it. And she hates being in camera, so it works out perfectly. So yeah, everyone's got a story, every business has a story. And this happened just because my love of working with kids. So it's happened organically. And I feel very lucky. And now I get to mother all my clients. I'm older now and I'm a grandmother. And when I'm talking to clients, they're my kids' age now. And I've even got clients who were kids, their parents had worked with me. And now they're hiring me. So that's how long I've been doing it. Anyway, that's it. That's enough of that. Okay. Oh, I don't know where the podcast, if you're on our newsletter, you can sign up above. The podcast, all the information will be coming out. My daughter's very good at, getting all that done. It'll also be on the website. I don't know how she's doing it all, but you have to hire a publisher and, we paid to have it published and all that. So I don't know what platforms it'll end up on because I don't know anything about podcasts. Like I said, if I'm listening to a podcast, I never know who it is and what I'm listening to. I have no clue how to do podcasts. So it's all my daughter. This is a good question, and it comes up a lot in coaching. Do you have any advice about raising a child with an ex who doesn't parent the same way? You don't have to parent the same way. Children understand school is different. Children understand that when they're playing on the field with their football coach, that's different. They understand when they're at mom's house, that's different from dad's house. They understand all those different camps. They do adjust to that. So just work on your own leadership. I do sometimes get clients who are willing to work together. Well, separately together, you know what I mean? So I do sometimes do that in coaching where I've got both homes. But they're different styles, but we'll often use the same behavior boards for consistency, but it's not necessary. The children will eventually lean into the leader's way. So the leader is the one who brings out the best in them. Therefore, they have the highest self-esteem and they like themselves the most and they have pride. And a lot of parents don't think about that. Are you giving your children something to be proud of? Do they have chores? Do they, you know what I mean? Do they treat you well? Are you giving your kids anything to be proud of? That's where self-esteem comes from. It doesn't come from being spoiled and getting all their own way. That's guaranteed low self-esteem. But yeah, high self-esteem comes from making them be proud of their behavior and how they treat people. So, but anyway, they become that person and it trumps everything else. So if the other parent lets them get away with murder and they don't like themselves when they're over there, they tend to lean more into your way anyway, if you're the leader. Okay, actually, I have to get going. I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm always very grateful for people turning up to these lives, and I appreciate your time. Because my daughter was telling me, when you're watching me on a live, you can't do other stuff. In a podcast, you can answer texts and everything. So this is more work. Turning up, listening to me on a live is more work than just listening to a podcast. So that's why she's really excited about the podcast. And I don't know how much, I guess I'll keep doing the lives. I don't know. She hasn't told me what I'll be doing yet. So she does all the planning. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, toddlers and older kids. And you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list, but it's really short right now. It's the shortest it's been in a long time. So anyway, because I went through I just finished with a whole bunch of clients. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again tomorrow for my regularly scheduled lives. Happy parenting.